Everybody knows the incredible journey of Dorking Wanderers, largely down to the brilliant Mark White. But now they've got even bigger ambitions of becoming a League Two club. To reach their goal, they've employed the club's first ever CEO. And we're going to find out how he plans to monetise their huge social following, the small changes he's made that have already had a huge impact on the pitch, and why he wants to improve the matchday experience.
Mark, you built this football club from the ground up. So why last year did you feel like you needed a CEO?
I think we sort of got to that breaking point of, like, in the National League, me trying to do 145 jobs and manage a team against Wrexham, Notts County, Chesterfield, Oldham, the likes, and we'd basically just gone too quick on the field, and behind that weren't good enough. But we have brought in a serious, I'm trying to think who the best Welsh footballer was, probably Gareth Bale, maybe, I don't know, Gareth Bale? Yeah, so we brought in John, who's fortunately really good and way better than me, and he's working voluntarily behind the scenes to try and help the club off the field and on the field, actually. He's even dipped into, he would have told you, his starting point was a physio department, so yeah, it's interesting.
What criteria were you looking for to be a CEO of Dorking Wanderers?
They've got to get it. There's not really a serious moment at the club. They've got to have good humour. They've got to be hard-working. John is all of those things. And actually, I think with where we're going, you know, John have to get some accolades at some point, because, you know, the foundations we're building now are all down to John's hours in the day. That's the bottom line.
Where did the relationship come from? Where did you meet?
Well, yeah, it's weird how these things happen, isn't it? It's like, in a supermarket. Yeah. We've got mutual connections at Wimbledon. John had been sort of looking around, massive football fan, Swansea City fan, looking around for a club to get involved with. But football's hard, because there's normally someone that's protecting the club or doesn't want anyone to get involved, and it's hard for people to get involved in football at that level. But this was a different matter. It was literally like a match made in heaven, because we can't get enough support. So yeah, it was great.
Can you take the banter as well?
Yeah, he can take the banter. Yeah, he's good. He gives it, takes it, and he doesn't get offended by anything. And there's a lot of things to be offended by in this club.
Jonathan Bynes was appointed in March 2024, but it almost never happened.
Actually, I wasn't going to meet Mark, because I just thought he was going to be too mad. And it turns out I was right. He is too mad. But we had 2 hours together, had a nice cup of tea, and the next day he just rang me and said, let's just have a go. And that's what we've done really since. We didn't really set any true real parameters to anything. We just figured out that we were normal enough people, he says, to make it work. So that's what happened.
What's your background?
So I've just worked in the city 25, 26 years, been a normal job, trying to make a few quid. But I love football. So what not, an amazing opportunity in my life to be able to actually do something that has been a hobby and a passion. But it's, so there's a lot more business to it than I probably necessarily understood.
What was your first impression of Dorking Wanderers before coming through the door?
Probably what most is it's the past, isn't it? It's the history and how on earth did they do that, and him. And to be fair to the rest of the club, there's a hell of a lot of people behind Mark. That became obvious very, very quickly. You got a lot of people around you. Start naming them, you miss one out, don't you? But the likes of Chris Lee and Alan Gout, who've been here a long time, put a lot of effort and time into the club. None of it happens without these guys, and there's other guys and girls behind the scenes. But I think really quickly, within weeks, it was obvious to me that's just the first stage. Or it's 5 stages of 20 or whatever. I'm never satisfied with anything ever. I'm always looking for what can be improved always. So that me and Mark kind of probably connected well on that. He cares massively about and is proud of what they've all done to get the club to this point. But at the same time, he doesn't really about that. He doesn't really talk about it.
Yeah.
He's not really that bothered, because he wants to win today and we want to be a League Two football club. And you get plenty of people who kind of can scoff at that. But if he'd said to people 24, 25 years ago that this club would be where it was, 12 promotions in that period, no one would have believed that, would they?
No.
No one would have had it. Everyone would have been saying the same that they're saying now. How can you be a League Two football club? But why can't we? It's 2 promotions. It was 1 until last year.
So what's the first thing you had to do when you come through the door?
Well, it's a very social environment, so as a semi-introvert, that was a bit of a struggle. Getting used to back into the banter, and because you can't really joke about anything in the city anymore, obviously, at all. But very quickly it was like, what can we solve first? What are the biggest problems? What are the biggest opportunities? That was the natural kind of thought process that I had, or all of us had, I suppose. So player fitness was the big one, because I was I still am the least successful football CEO that's ever existed, right? Because I started with this club 6 weeks before the end of last season, and we managed to get relegated, first relegation in the club's history. So it didn't start well, did it? Player fitness was a big one. We looked at that. Probably squad size and profile. We've done a lot of work on that. We're probably halfway through that project, because you can't just change things overnight, obviously. The real big one alongside that was the monetisation of our digital footprint. You would never think of Mark White as being a naive character, and I'm not suggesting he is, but there's a naivety about the football club, because it's all true, right? The honesty and the authenticity that he brings, it's all true. It's not like he's not doing it
it's
for
not
any.
character,
It's
no.
not. It's just him. When people talk about him voice noting at 5 a.m., he does that every single morning. Between 5 and 5:30, I get my first voice note. It's not a anecdotal storyline kind of narrative. It's just that's what happens. But there's a naivety about how big the club is outside of the fans that come here on a match day. So we've done a huge amount of work. A young lad came in, has worked with us for 6 months. Eddie Warbank, brilliant brain, like smart guy, worker, old school worker. But we discovered like last year, we had over 400 million unique views. How can you have 400 plus? And that's without all the retweets and all the reposts and everything. So we kind of worked out that we should be doing something with that. But the first goal is to actually understand what you got, isn't it? And until you understand what you got, you don't know what to do with it. Then we understood what we got, and then we didn't know what to do with it. So we spent the last 3 or 4 months then kind of figuring out who can we partner with, who would that be valuable to? Not to sell the soul. There's no point. No one wants to do that. That's not this club. If there's a way of doubling that wage bill, then we're going to do it within reason. So we've got one actual significant commercial partner that we'll announce in the next few weeks, which will be massive for this club. Absolutely massive, real proud moment for everybody who's been involved in it, and that's going to make a hell of a difference to us budget-wise, and not just that. There are actually people who want to be part of the journey, which sounds a bit but it is a journey, and they want to be on it with us, and they're good people, so we're looking forward to having them around. But there's so much further we've got to go with that. Mark's going to do a podcast, so we're excited about getting that going. He's got his own views on what the thread of that should be. So we're still talking about how we can pitch that to mean that anybody can watch it, not just the 5% who will actually accept half the stuff he says. Yeah, so we got masses to go, massive opportunity on that stuff. We've just barely scratched the surface. But that's where this club will go. We've now got a digital media division as a business unit of this club, and that's a big change for us.
He's helped you off the pitch, and you mentioned he's helped you on it. We've been here plenty of times, and you've suffered with injuries. How much of a boost is that for you to have a team that you can actually put out now?
Curly, that's exactly it, mate. Like if we hadn't spent the first 16 weeks players down, this sort of end of season stress might have been a bit easier. I mean, little things like, it sounds really stupid, but he worked out what boots to wear on the pitch, right?
Seems like an obvious one, though, doesn't it? But
you know what I mean? You'd imagine that's a factory setting if we're getting injuries. But we've learned so much about what's what, and it just needed that extra diligence and hard work, and so he's been amazing, you know what I mean? Obviously we've got other people in the club been here a long time that contribute behind the scenes, but we all needed someone that was going to be a diehard, stay up late, get up early and get done, and that's what he's doing.
the club had a lot of injuries over the last few seasons, and you looked into that. You've come up with some interesting results.
Yeah, partly because I wanted Mark to stop talking about it. Because unfortunately, it was affecting every game, and he's bored talking about it, but you can't ignore it when it's such a significant factor. So we restructured the team a bit. We had a lot of knowledge in the medical department. We weren't lacking knowledge or enthusiasm or effort, but maybe a little bit of organisation and discipline and a bit of communication, all the boring words like that. But they all mean something in reality. So daily meetings, players filling in wellbeing forms, and then the whole pitch scenario was obviously one that, again, gets a lot of airtime. So we, Eddie, in fairness, who I mentioned, who's been brilliant for us, he did a paper working with me on, we did our own research on injury rates. There's loads of studies around the world, quite a few in America, so we got them all together. Like a proper dissertation he did it in a proper geek, academic, kind of boring kind of way. You put pictures in the stuff, because otherwise the players know what's going on. The result of that was significantly suggesting that players wearing artificial ground boots, not firm ground, which half of them are wearing, makes a big difference to injury rates. And so all the players had 4 days to go and buy themselves artificial ground boots. Touch wood, he says, we haven't had an injury we can relate to the pitch since we've done that. And it can't be as simple as that, but we're going to take some credit for it.
Absolutely.
But you've got to look for those 0.1%, haven't you? All those managers, I met Luke Williams a little while ago, phenomenal time spending time with him, and he's all about that detail and that micromanagement. People like Brendan Rodgers, it's what everyone does now, isn't it? You've got to do it in business, you've got to do it in football. So every little advantage we can find, we will. But I think it's turned out to be a big advantage. It was just quite funny because all of them laughed and they all thought it was and they're all to go and buy themselves a new pair of boots. Dan Gallagher actually got some boots off his brother, which was quite cool. I don't know if it made him play any more like him, but unfortunately it was very, very amusing. I'm not even sure you can really put this out, it's just too stupid. But he wore the boots, and then 2 weeks later he had problems with his big toes. I was like, why's Dan got problems with big toes? So we dug into it, saw the detail, all about the detail, and you get into it. His brother lent him his boots, or gave him his boots. That's a lovely gesture, but different size. This size too small. So he's still got these like 2 toenails that don't work. So that's Dorking Wanderers, though, I think. That's how we roll. So that was kind of head in hands moment. Yeah, that was a big change for us. But it's all the detail, isn't it? It's all being obsessive. Mark's obsessive. You're welcome in this club if you've got OCD and you're obsessive and you give. And for some reason it matters more than logic would suggest it should, really.
Alfie, when a new CEO comes in, the first one at the football club and says everyone's got to buy new boots because of the surface, what's your initial reaction?
My initial reaction was I was probably going to do it anyway because of my big injury. A lot of the lads were thinking, I don't want to spend that much money on a new pair of boots when everyone buys a new pair of boots every year. No, I think it's been good, beneficial. And then obviously when they told us about it, they give us the data with it as well that shows something to do with the studs. Obviously the moulds that we get now are they have lines like that instead of the rounded ones which you can rotate in the ground. So the data's there and it's been proven.
Fitness was a key thing that they were looking at in detail. What did he say to you at the start of the season?
It was a massive thing, obviously, because we was full-time last year, that we had to be fitter this year. That was the main thing. And then to myself, obviously, I was coming back from long-term injuries and I don't feel like I was fully back last year until probably this year when I've started to get fitter and fitter playing week in, week out. So, yeah, it's been a big part.
What's it like for you to have a touchwood injury-free season, to get back scoring goals, doing things that you love?
Yeah, it's been massive. Like I say, last season wasn't being truthful to myself. I wasn't fit enough, probably mentally as well. Coming back this season, as the weeks have gone on, I've just felt fitter, stronger every week. And then I think probably the past 4 months, my performances have probably gone up a level.
Looking ahead to the end of the season, some big games left in it. How much will those extra percentages of what you guys have been doing on the training pitch affect the running?
Yeah, massive. Obviously, we're in 3 mornings a week now, so it's massive to us. And I think the coaches as well have really put an emphasis this year on, in our sessions, we've got to be at it. And to be fair, the sessions that have been put on, everyone's been right at it as well. We do all these little small-sided possessions and everyone's at it to press and everyone's constantly going at everyone to press hard and fast.
How excited are you for the future of Dorking Wanderers?
I mean, I've been here for, 5 years now? And every year you see just the little phases that the club's taken. And obviously it's been good to be a part of that. Obviously the fans, you see every week that we're getting more and more. And I think it's such a unique place, like Dorking Football Club. It's the only place where you can lose 5-0 and the fans will still clap you off the pitch, and I've never seen it before. It's been so good to be a part of it, and yeah, long may it continue.
How do you improve the matchday experience for the well-supported fans inside the Meadowbank?
Yeah, it's a big question. It's really, really important. And we've just done a fan survey actually recently to try and scratch the surface on that and understand them, because I don't think any of us are massively proud of the matchday experience right now. We think it's all right, it's decent, but it's not.
It's nice when the sun's out.
It's not an experience for people. Yeah, it's not. It's not an experience. I listened to that and went to Farnham not so long ago just for research purposes, and we had a game there as well. And obviously, what they've done there is phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we kind of watched that and go, hold on, right? How did you do that? So we've got big ambitions for that. We've got a stand that's going to go in there that we've got sitting around somewhere that needs to be put together. So it's a huge, huge next step for us because we're aware we've got a lot of loyal supporters. There's a much better experience we can give them than this, we think.
How do you transition from a hybrid working club to full-time? What needs to change in order to become full-time like Eastbourne?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I wouldn't say we've got the answers to that yet. But what we said to the players at the end of last season was we're going to be a full-time club, but we accept that people are on contracts or people are already committed to lives outside of the club, but that will diminish each year now. So next, when we come to this summer and doing those contracts for everybody, it'll be a big part of those conversations. Everybody will be in 3 days a week, and we'll get to 4. But we're doing it we're trying to do it in a considered way. We're not trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We're trying to keep it nice and calm and do it steady, not leaving any doubt that that's where we're heading. That's where we have to get to. We can't have an ambition to be a League 2 football club if we've got players in 1 or 2 days a week. It don't work, does it?
Would promotion speed that up?
Yeah, I guess so. I think it'll be in the mix of all that conversation because there's a financial element to being promoted, obviously, and we're in a tricky situation right now because there's players asking what's happening next year, and I'm saying I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, you get 3 points.
You're the ones in control of it.
Yeah.
So that will make a huge difference. Of course, it will do. Also on the type of player you want as well. But Mark is a ferociously loyal person, like painfully loyal person.
Finds it hard to let people go.
Incredibly. We had a funny conversation at the end of last season where I thought we'd agreed the squad list. I don't think it turned out exactly as we'd agreed, which we laughed about a little bit. But that's to his credit, right? That's why this squad is so tight. The one thing you never question about these guys is they all love each other. Even when we've got the squad's too strong, really. We've got players on the bench who should not be on the bench. So he hates that part of the job. He hates letting players down. he doesn't enjoy anybody not getting game time when he knows they're all good enough to play in this league. Most of them are too good. That squad reconstruction, maybe we'll try and not call it reconstruction because it sounds a bit brutal, but that will obviously be different depending on the league we end up in. But we're getting promoted, aren't we? So
We sat in that stand at the start of the season before the ball had even been kicked. You said you were the team to beat. You're not wrong, you're right up there. How competitive has this season been? Because it's being dubbed the best title race in the world.
I know. Well, look, yeah, I mean, listen, I'm just pleased we're still in it because we had that horrible start with injuries. But, yeah, I mean, I think I spoke to Luke at Bournemouth last week and yeah, he sort of said, well, look, there's more full-time teams than ever. There's more hybrid teams than ever. So it is more competitive. Look, I've got to be true to myself. My honest standpoint is that it's sort of like closeness. It is, to a degree, its weakness. Most weeks, most fixtures, you look at it and anyone can beat anyone. But yeah, look, I think it's a really enjoyable league. If you look at the North, you know, Scunthorpe, Chester, it's weird, like you're seeing these little funnels. Like if you look at this league, you see Bournemouth, you see Torquay, these clubs that stand out that have been there, done it. Maybe there is that sort of funnel effect happening like you've got with the National League and League Two, and you get all these rafter clubs, so it is competitive.
Moving forward, what do you want Dorking Wanderers to be recognised for?
as a full-time professional football club in League Two. Simple as that. We got Rob Tuvey, who's joined us in December for that very reason. You know, a huge level of experience at Wimbledon in that league. Really lucky to get him. We already got good coaches around the place, but he adds another dimension of that professionalism that we're talking about. So it's just doing the things you say you're going to do. We don't want to talk about being a professional football club. We've got to be it, haven't we? Be that thing before you get there is what we're focused on.
And when do you hope to see Dorking Wanderers in League Two?
Year after next. Yeah, promoted this year, promoted next year, and then we'll have a crack.
And what would it mean to bring home the National League South title? Because you said this would be a promotion every other season, it would work out.
Yeah, exactly. In my head, I've got the T-shirt with the number 13 on it, you know, and I'm just stood there, the number 13, getting squirted with champagne in my head. I don't know, football's so innocuous. We've sort of 6 games to go. I remember this league. We signed Jason Pryor 5, 6, 7 years ago, maybe 6, and in this division, it was a 2-horse race between Dartford and Havant, and Dartford have won it. They've won it, 9 points, whatever, but 4 games to go, literally threw it away. When there's that few points behind, between teams, it will go to the wire. It has to. You've only got to have 1 or 2 reversals, everyone's playing everyone. We could lose today and still win the league. That is the bottom line, so, but obviously we want to win. That's the plan.